you can always contact me on a separate basis if we don't have too many times for all of the questions at the end. And in the meantime, you can also put all of the questions in the chat and I'll answer to them at the end. So the first thing would be to show you where we are located. So if you've never been to London, Regent is actually inside Regent's Park, which is one of the royal parks of London. Is located in central North London. So it's very, very convenient and very close to all of the main attractions and touristy locations that you probably heard of before. And as you can see, it's a very green area. So our campus is quite unique. You can actually see the building in the middle of this picture here. And that's where we're located in the inner circle. So that means that during your time here, you're going to be close to the city. It's about an 8-minute walk from the main kind of streets. But then at the same time, you're going to be, sorry, I think there's someone who's not muted. So if you can please, sorry, I'm just gonna. Okay, I think I just clicked mute all just to make sure that no one hears any noise in the background. Perfect, thank you. Okay. So yeah, so basically you're going to be benefiting from all of the greens and the unique thing about London that other universities in London don't have, of Regents, is that we are a closed campus. So most universities in London have a kind of city campus, meaning that they have different buildings spread around the city. Whereas for us, it's actually a campus, like similar to those ones that you see in American universities, although it's a bit smaller. But it's a closed campus. You need an ID card to get in and out. It's very, very secure. So it's really, really prime and good location to be in. And we like to say that during your time here, London will really become your playground and your classroom. This is mainly because obviously you come here to study, but also to have fun. And the good thing is that, you know, outside of London and outside of Regents, there's so many different things and activities for you to do outside of the kind of academic life. But then a lot of modules or classes, however you want to call them, actually have a practical component. So you're going to go out and do a lot of things hands-on around the city. So sometimes it could be, you know, for a business event. Sometimes it might be you go to a fashion or a fashion marketing boutique. Or, you know, if you do theater, for example, you might go to the theater and watch some shows, etc. So it's very, very hands-on to make the most of the city. What I personally really like about London is it's very, very diverse and inclusive. So it's actually home to more than 100,000 international students from 200 different countries. And Regents itself is very, very international because 80% of our students are international. And I know that you would say, oh my God, I want to go to London because I want the full British experience, which is fair enough. But you need to think that London, it's in Great Britain, but it's not very British because it's a melting pot, right? There's so many different cultures, and Regents is really a reflection of that. And I think the good thing about it is that it attracts so many different types of people that you never get bored. You know, whatever passion, whatever hobby you have, you'll always find it. And it's going to be a good way for you to meet friends from all over the world. And the way I like to say is that you're always going to have a couch if you want to travel later on, because, you know, that happened to me when I studied abroad. So the more cultures, the merrier to kind of have a full experience during your time here. It is also a really good travel hub. So you're going to come to London. And the good thing is that, especially if you stay at Regents, you won't need a car or anything. You know, it's a walking distance from everywhere. There's excellent transport links because we are very close to one of the oldest, or actually the oldest underground station, which is called Baker Street. It's actually one of the original stations of the Metropolitan Railway, which is the world's first underground railway. And from Baker Street, you can easily reach everywhere pretty much around the city. But again, you always have options like bicycles that you can hire. You've got Ubers, you've got taxis. And again, walking is probably the best way to kind of go around. But if you do want to use public transport like buses and underground and trains, you will also get a discount as a student. So I think students benefit for 30% discount, which is pretty good. But then another thing is that whilst you're here, you may want to explore other parts of the UK as well. So to do that, you've got, you know, trains. We've got 5 airports. So even if you wanted to go home, for example, not that I'm saying you should go home because you only stay here for, you know, 4 or 5 months, so you want to make the most of it. But if there is an emergency and you need to go back to Italy, it's very, very easy to reach because, again, there's 5 airports and all of them are maximum 45 minutes to an hour from Regent. So very easy to get to. Another thing I like to say to students is this one. And the reason is I'm Italian, but I lived in Australia before moving to London for 8 years. And when I moved here 3 years ago, my main concern was around, obviously the sun, but then around the greeneries around me, because London is known as the big smoke. So everyone's got this idea of London being grey and kind of boring. But I can assure you, that's not the case. If anything, it is quite green. Like 47% of spaces in London are green. There's a lot of parks. And obviously, if you come to Regents, you'll be in one of them. And there's a lot of events happening at all times to make the most of all of these outdoors facilities. So a lot of events, if you're into sports, there's a lot of them, especially water sports, because we have a lot of canals and all of that. So it's just something that I like to say to students, because I think if you've never been to London, you will never really get this idea of having this kind of outdoorsy lifestyle. Obviously, if you come during winter, it can be a bit cold as well, but most of the time, if you come, early autumn or spring, it's quite pleasant and you can do a lot of things outside. And then last but not least, obviously, it is, arts and history hub. We have a lot of museums and most of them are pretty much free. And there's a bit of for everyone. There's a bit for history, for arts, for science. There's a lot of, quirky stuff to do around town. Like if you're into graffiti, there's like a very hipster area called Shoreditch. You've got Camden Town, which is pretty cool. So a lot of things to explore. And the theatre scene is also very big. So we have what is called the West End, which is about a 20 minutes walk from Regents, which is the equivalent of Broadway, basically, in New York. And it's quite exciting because students like to go there. There's a lot of cheap tickets a lot of the time. So we do encourage you to make the most of your time, of all of the things that are available to you when you're here. And obviously, it is a very big business hub. As you probably know, London is one of the world's financial capitals. So especially for you, I know a lot of you might be studying business. It's a very good opportunity to kind of lay the foundation. And again, come here, have fun and study. But during your time here, there's going to be a lot of visiting lecturers, for example. There's going to be a lot of events held on campus with experts in a specific subject area. So even though you're not planning on coming and study and working in the UK later on, it's still good to kind of make those contacts because you never know. Nowadays, it's all about networking. So we are quite big on this here at Regents, and we try to encourage students to do the same. Now, moving on to Regents, we have quite a different way, I think, of teaching and doing things compared to Italy and maybe to your universities as well, because you are a very big university. Regents is quite small. We've got about 3,500 students in total that do, degree programs. So it is quite a little boutique, little university. But the advantage of that is that our classes are quite small. And I know that it can sound a bit scary sometimes because students are like, oh my God, I'm not prepared for that. It's like go back to high school. But it's not really like that, because the advantage out of this is that you're going to build a very, very good relationship with your course leader, and you're going to have, access to anything that you need straight away. You know how frustrating it can be sometimes, in Italy. I mean, I've studied in Italy, and not just in Italy, when you have very big classes and you're trying to get information from your tutors or whatever, it's really, really hard. Whereas here, you can access the information straight away. You have a lot of support because you're going to have a personal tutor throughout your studies, and all of the staff is also here to help you. It's like a big family. That's how I like to describe it. And you need to remember that our education is very practical. So, I mean, I did my degree, 12, 13 years ago, so I can't really comment if that's still the case, but I know that the Italian kind of teaching style is very lecture-based. So you go to a class, you listen to what the teacher or professor has to say, you write down notes, and you take your exam at the end. Whereas at Regents or in the UK in general, the education is slightly different because you do a lot of hands-on experiences. You are required to be quite independent and do a lot of kind of projects at home. So you might not even have a final exam, but you might have different tasks throughout the semester that you have to complete in order to get your final grade. So you might have group work, you might have a presentation, you might have an essay, Some modules might have an exam as well. So that from that point of view, you need to be prepared to kind of change the way you're studying a little bit, but usually students don't have any problems. And it's, in fact, some of them actually prefer that way of doing things because you have more interaction with your classmates and everything. And obviously, we always, like I said earlier, we always bring a lot of visiting experts. So there's always going to be opportunities to learn outside of just the kind of textbooks, because you bring people with kind of updates from the real world, especially when it comes maybe to business and kind of current affairs. They have, we have a lot of different places on campus, although it is a small campus. We do have, a Starbucks, for example. We have a pub on campus. We have a little restaurant. We have a refectory where they cook fresh meals every day. So you don't need to actually go out to eat and to do, to have fun. And there's a lot of events happening at all times. But the good thing as well is that if you do want to go out, again, the main street is about an 8-minute walk. So you can go, and there's plenty of restaurants. And as a student, again, you can get many discounts. I think the conveniency of having things on campus is that sometimes you might have classes like back to back. So you might finish at 12 and the other one starts at 12:30, for example. Then at least you don't have to run around like crazy. You just go and grab your food and then you go on to your next class. So that's quite convenient. And on campus, we try to organize as many things as possible for our students. So we have a student union that organize a lot of events. We have different clubs and societies. Now, I didn't put them down all here, but you can have a look online in the student union website and you'll be able to find it. You just have to Google, basically, student union Regents. And the good thing is that if there is a club or a society that you're interested in, but it's actually not available, you can start your own one as well. And that's something that a lot of study abroad students do, because you kind of bring new insights and new ideas. So we want you to get as involved as possible. If you are into sports, we have sports team as well, like from volleyball to basketball, soccer, polo, which is quite a common one for students that want to try out when they come here. It's very British. And then a lot of different, tours and events throughout the semester. But especially if you come during the autumn semester, we have a big grand autumn party, because in the back kind of gardens of the university, we put down a marquee during summer. And so we use that to do kind of the welcome week for undergraduate and postgraduate students. And there is this big event with, music, drinks, and a lot of games. So it's quite exciting. But for both semester, both spring and autumn, we do a welcome week, which normally lasts for a full week. It's 4 days normally. And we do during the day, there's a lot of different activities about more academic stuff. But then in the evening, there's always events. So one is about networking, or like a quiz, a pub quiz, or a boat party. So again, we try to get the students as together as possible during the first week. So then you can start your semester happy that you've got friends and you don't have to worry about that later on. We do offer on-campus accommodation if you're interested in this. This is actually wrong. I forgot to remove it because we recently made a decision to not have triple rooms anymore, but we have single and twins. And if you decide to stay on campus, all of the information is actually in the link that I put down here, which is regents.ac.uk/accommodation. So you can see the prices there. You may be able to see some pictures. The picture that you see here, actually, which is the one in my background, is the accommodation halls, which is called Read Hall. So it's quite, I like it because a lot of students think it's very Instagrammable. So you might have seen it in a lot of other pictures from Regents. But yeah, if you stay on campus, in your ID card, you're actually going to have a meal credit automatically added to it. It's usually around £1,300. And you can use it in every, food outlets around campus. So the refectory, the restaurants, the Starbucks, wherever you want. And same for the university. The reception is also secure. So it's 24-hour security. You have residential assistance. So it's quite, it's quite safe, especially if your parents are a bit worried if it's your first time abroad. But, staying on campus is not mandatory. It's your decision. We encourage students to do it because it's the best way to make the most of it and meet people. But, if you need off-campus accommodation, we can also help you with that. In terms of subject areas, we've got different ones. So you can see them all here. So business management, liberal arts, fashion design, film media performance, psychology, psychotherapy, and languages. And you can actually mix and match. So you can mix all of these modules. All of the classes are actually taken for the main degree programs. And then we create separate lists for study abroad students. You'll be able to see them on the website in our inbound page, which I can put in the chat later on if you can't find it. And basically, you'll be going to classes with degree-seeking students. But the advantage that you have is that you may be able to take, 3 classes from business and 2 classes from liberal arts if you have electives, for example. So it's up to you how to want to build your study plan. But we do allow a maximum of 30 ECTS per academic term, which is usually the standard that you will do in Italy as well. At the moment, the modules or classes lists that you see online are actually the ones for the 2021-2022 academic term. So if you're planning on coming next year, we don't have the lists yet because usually they're published around February or March next year, but you can have a look at the ones from this year because usually the modules are going to be repeated. Most of them will be anyway. So you can have a look at them in the meantime. And then in terms of application process, I'm sure that you have another session about this, but just letting you know that a lot of you will contact us to try and apply directly because I know that you also have a program called Free Mover. And, by all means, feel free to reach out to us. We can give you information. But even if the program is called Free Mover, you still need to go through your home university first, and then they will let us know that you want to study with us. And then from the moment we receive your details from them, we will contact you directly with the application information. You don't have to provide proof of English for us, but I know that you might need to do a test at Cattolica to prove your level of English. And we don't actually require for an entry GPA or a minimal overall grade. So we just ask for your academic transcript, a copy of your passport if you have one, and then you just need to select your modules or classes as part of your online application. And then after that, we usually review the application, and within 4 weeks, you will receive your offer, accept it, and then carry on, organizing everything else. And just a quick slide on this one, because I know that some of you may ask questions on this anyway. So in terms of COVID, it's a hard one because I wish I had a crystal ball and tell you what's going to happen in the new year, but I want to be positive and I want to tell you what the situation is now and hoping this will carry on for the spring and autumn next year as well. So at the moment we are back to campus teaching face-to-face full-time. So we don't have online programs. Everything is face-to-face. We didn't have any issues this term. We never had to close down. Everything is back to normal. Obviously, there are some COVID protocols that students need to follow. So you have to wear a mask in common areas. You have to take a test every 72 hours, but don't worry about this because at the moment the tests are free, so you don't have to pay for them, and that might actually go with the new year. So that's why I don't want to give you too much information on this because things might change, but it's just to let you know and reassure you that at the moment we're back to face-to-face teaching and life in London is pretty much normal right now, even though in the news you hear that there are a lot of cases, but in fact, people are going out as normal. Christmas is planning to go ahead as normal. So hopefully things will remain the same. And a quick note on immigration, because unfortunately after Brexit last year, a few things changed. So before you were actually free to come to the UK, move around and do whatever you wanted, study, work at any time. Unfortunately, after Brexit, if you're not a British or an Irish national, and you are, European or Italian or whatever other nationality anyway, you will need to enter the UK under the visitor route. So if you come for less than 6 months, you don't need to apply for a visa before if you're Italian. If you're another nationality, you'll need to check on the website of the government. But even though you don't need a visa, you still enter as a visitor. And there are some restrictions on this visitor route. So for example, you cannot work during your time in London. So that's something that, I need to tell students in advance because a lot of them come here expecting to be able to work. And other than that, you can do everything. Like you can do study, you can travel, but work is not allowed under this visitor route. If you want to work, you will need to apply for a student visa, but you can only apply for a student visa if you stay for 2 academic terms, not just one. And in your case, I don't know if your university allows this kind of 2-term thing. So that's something that you need to discuss with them in case you wanted to do that. And that's it. So yeah, so I covered quite a lot of things, didn't go into too much detail on anything because again, this is more of an intro and presentation. But if you have any questions, you can raise your hand or you can put them in the chat and I'm more than happy to answer. Or our contact details are here. So studyabroad@regents.ac.uk. Our website is that one where you can find all of the modules, the academic calendar, and our phone number. So if you ever need to talk to me after this presentation, don't be afraid, reach out and we're here to help you.
Okay, so thank you, Carlotta, for this presentation. I would suggest students connected not to be shy and to take advantage of these sessions because it is very important that it can be really useful for you to ask questions directly to Carlotta, even if you want to write them. Let's have a look if there is any kind of questions. Okay, so I see you're still connected there. So if you have questions, just write them, or you can also activate your microphone. You can raise your hand and speak directly, also in Italian, as we were saying before. Okay, we have a question from Beatrice.
Mi sentite?
Sì.
Eccoci. In italiano velocemente, non funziona la chat, probabilmente non scrivono per quello.
Ah, non funziona? Ah.
Io vedo che non riesco a scrivere.
Una tua collega sta scrivendo, però
okay.
vabbè, non è un problema, puoi parlare tranquillamente.
Volevo solo gentilmente chiedere se eventualmente voi aveste qualche contatto per delle, diciamo, per delle accommodation esterne al campus, se magari avete qualche agevolazione, visto che giustamente gli affitti sono un po' più alti che qua in Italia.
Certo, allora non abbiamo agevolazioni con gente che subaffitta appartamenti, però possiamo sicuramente darti dei contatti delle agenzie con cui lavoriamo, comunque dove abbiamo mandato degli studenti in passato e loro magari ti possono aiutare. Oppure al momento abbiamo anche un'accommodation alternativa che si chiama Urban Nest, che è vicino alla stazione St. Pancras a King's Cross, a 10 minuti più o meno da Regent in metropolitana, e lì è una student accommodation, però lì sono self-catered apartments, quindi hai praticamente tutto, hai la tua cameretta, il tuo cucinino, sono dei piccoli appartamenti. Quindi ti posso mettere nella chat, riesci comunque a vedere la chat, giusto? Anche se non riesci a scrivere.
Sfortunatamente no, continuo a dire refresh the chat, but non funziona.
Ma non vedi proprio neanche la chat, zero? Ah, ok. Allora, io lo metto lo stesso
Se
per
vuoi
caso...
puoi mandarci anche un'email e poi te lo mandiamo noi.
Esatto.
Posso chiedere gentilmente l'email così non le provo?
Puoi scriverci a info.outbound, se guardate sotto la pagina del programma trovate l'indirizzo.
Ok, perfetto.
Oppure anche Beatrice, scusa, se vuoi puoi anche mettere in Google, se metti Regent's University London Accommodation e ti si apre il link e puoi contattare anche quelli dell'accommodation direttamente se preferisci, perché c'è il loro indirizzo lì e vedi anche le opzioni on and off campus nel sito.
Ok, perfetto,
Volendo,
grazie.
che appunto l'ho messo nella chat, però se non la vedi il modo più veloce è andare su Google e scrivere così.
Ok, grazie mille, perfetto.
Niente, figurati. Poi Francesca c'è una domanda da Tanuja, ma penso sia più per voi.
Yes, Tanuja, I don't know if I will answer to you in English. This program is available for all students at Cattolica. You have seen in the presentation that in Regents you can study different modules, so also business and management are taught there. As you know, the Faculty of Business here at Cattolica allows you to go abroad for semester opportunities starting from your third year of the bachelor degree. So it's your decision on what, if the first or the second semester. It's completely up to you. Now, the call that is now open is open for 22-23 first semester next year. But if you will be in the third year of your bachelor degree, it's up to you to decide what semester you want to spend abroad. We have another question of Giulia Vianelli. How is the academic calendar generally organized? Maybe you can...
Yeah, of course. So normally I'm actually going to put that in the chat as well so you can have a look. But basically we have the spring and the autumn semester. So the spring semester usually starts mid to late January. So for example, these upcoming spring, it will start on the 17th of January. And then you will study until early May. So the last day of classes, I think, is around end of April, early May. And then the last 2 or 3 weeks at the beginning of May, that's when exams will be held. Yeah. That's the spring one. Whereas for the autumn one, it goes from mid-September, so around the 20th of September, until the week before Christmas. That's when the classes will normally terminate. Now, usually for the autumn term, most of the classes won't have any additional exams after the classes are over, because the exams are actually going to be embedded as part of the module. So you're either going to do, like I said earlier, a lot of different pieces of work throughout the semester, or you might do your exam in your last week of your classes. So usually you can leave the week before Christmas. There are some classes that might have exams in January, which means that they might require your presence in January. But when you look at our module list, you'll be able to actually see which modules will have exams in January. And there's only a handful of them, not many. And if for whatever reason you're unable to actually be in the country, you can let us know in advance and we can try and arrange and see if there's any other ways for you to maybe do it online or try to do it in the week before you actually leave the country. So that's how it is structured. But I've put the calendar in the chat so that you can actually see the more detailed dates. And again, the 2022-2023 one, will be published next year. But usually, you know, it's very, very similar. It might be a matter of 1 or 2 days difference of dates.
Ok, la domanda di DF è più per me, per il programma Free Mover. Allora, non c'è una, come diceva prima la collega, dovete comunque passare da noi e Free Mover è il programma per i latecomer, quindi succede, lo apriamo successivamente a che abbiate fatto le vostre candidature tramite il programma Study Abroad. Arrivare così tanto tardi vuol dire comunque arrivare in scivolata e arrivare all'ultimo miglio con la tua application e fare le cose più di corsa. Non cambiano assolutamente le condizioni nel farlo tramite lo Study Abroad, quindi io ti invito a valutare di fare le cose con le tempistiche più corrette, quindi tramite lo Study Abroad. Diversamente devi attendere febbraio per l'apertura del programma Free Mover, che aprirà appunto una volta uscite e pubblicate le graduatorie degli altri programmi di semestre, e troverai le deadline del programma.
Grazie Francesca. Okay, Saverio. So like I said earlier, briefly mentioned earlier, from our point of view, we don't ask a certain level of language as part of the application. We do recommend an equivalent to a B2. And I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Francesca, that you have an internal test that you do for all of the students going abroad, because you kind of need to make sure that they have the right level of English before you approve them. Is that correct?
It is correct.
Yeah.
Even if at Regent you do not strictly require a certificate that tells you the level of our students, we suggest our students to pass our internal test so that we can know what is your level, and also because we will put you in a ranking. And if you do not pass the English test, we will not have your level of English that is part of your ranking position.
Federica, è possibile quindi scegliere moduli da programmi diversi? Perché sul sito avevo letto che preferibile scegliere da uno stesso programma per evitare sovrapposizione di orari. Sì, questo è vero, nel senso che se per esempio ti do del tu, prendi una materia da business, una da liberal arts, una da fashion e una da psychology, ovviamente hai molte più possibilità che ci sia un timetable clash perché sono programmi diversi. Questo non vuol dire che non diamo la possibilità agli studenti di fare un mix and match, perché la maggior parte delle volte cosa succede? Gli studenti che vengono da un background business, per dirti, hanno 3 materie obbligatorie in business, fanno quelle e dopo dicono: ma ho ancora qualche credito, non devo fare niente per la cattolica, per dirti, voglio studiare qualcosa che mi interessa. E magari fanno, che ne so, una materia di base di photography o una lingua o un liberal arts, teatro, qualsiasi cosa. E quindi in quel caso non ci sono problemi. Quindi è più una questione di fare scelte da programmi completamente diversi per ogni materia, allora è lì che magari diventa un problema di timetable clashes. Però se bene o male la maggior parte delle materie le scegli nella stessa subject area, non ci sono grossi problemi. Quindi la risposta è sì, puoi scegliere i moduli da programmi diversi, nei limiti per evitare le sovrapposizioni di orari, ma di solito non ci sono grossi problemi da quel punto di vista. Aurora chiede, questo penso sia per te.
Non c'è un numero limitato di posti, Aurora, quindi tutti potete fare domanda. Aggiungo, c'è un numero limitato di scholarship disponibili, quindi soltanto i più bravi le prendono, questo sì, però in termini di posti disponibili non abbiamo un limite. Altre domande, curiosità che avete? Qualcosa magari da chiedere anche banalmente sul campus, sulla città, qualcosa per cui sfruttare Carlotta più di quello che potete fare con il nostro ufficio?
Ok, questa è per te.
Marco ha alzato la mano, se vuoi attivare il microfono.
Solo adesso. Volevo chiedere quali sono le facilities che ha il campus di Londra?
Le facilities, ti dico un po' di tutto, così facciamo un riassunto.
Certo.
Allora c'è l'on campus accommodation, praticamente si chiama Reed Hall, è quella che vedi qui dietro a me, e abbiamo circa 120 stanze, mi sembra, tra cui singole e doppie, e gli studenti di solito possono rimanere lì. I bagni sono in comune in questa facility, però di solito non è un grosso problema per gli studenti, anche perché i piani sono divisi maschi e femmine, quindi di solito, soprattutto per le donne, non è un grosso problema condividere. E poi c'è uno Starbucks, c'è un ristorante, c'è una mensa, dove di solito è quella più usata dagli studenti perché fanno appunto tutti il menù nuovo ogni settimana. C'è un pub. Poi c'è una libreria che è molto grande, una libreria, scusa, una library, una biblioteca, dove gli studenti possono tranquillamente utilizzare tutte le risorse, anzi la maggior parte degli studenti non comprano neanche i libri quando arrivano in realtà, perché possono utilizzare tutto sia da risorse online che libri veri e propri. E poi abbiamo un campo da tennis che gli studenti possono utilizzare. Non abbiamo una palestra in campus, ma di solito gli studenti o vanno in una palestra qui vicino dove c'è uno sconto per gli studenti, oppure usano proprio il parco, perché ripeto, siamo veramente nel bel mezzo del parco, quindi se la gente vuole farsi una corsa o andare in bicicletta o quant'altro, di solito fa così. Cos'altro? Aspetta, sto pensando perché, sai, sono quelle cose che dai per scontato e dopo avevi in mente qualche facilities in particolare, così almeno magari mi dai una mano a pensare a cos'altro abbiamo.
No, in realtà mi interessa una questione tipo, non so, lo Sports Center più che altro e
Ok,
già in realtà la domanda è stata più che altro esaustiva, quindi sì.
ok.
No,
Però
grazie.
riguardo allo sport, visto che non c'eri prima, abbiamo comunque uno sports team che si chiama Regents Active, mi sembra, e loro organizzano, hanno proprio le squadre di sport, quindi poi per fare quelle attività di solito utilizzano magari le facilities del parco, quindi
Certo.
per dirti per andare a giocare a calcio o usano a volte c'è un campo piccolino qui, però magari vanno proprio nei campi da calcio del parco. Stessa cosa per basketball, abbiamo un piccolo campo qua dietro vicino al campo da tennis. Volleyball non so di preciso dove lo facciano, però se sei interessato in particolare in questo ti metto il link del sito e così se vuoi anche magari mandare un'email a loro oppure informarti direttamente se vuoi già cercare di unirti a una squadra perché magari devi portare avanti il tuo allenamento dall'Italia, puoi contattare direttamente loro e capire come funziona.
Grazie mille.
Niente, figurati.
Ok, sono andata avanti a rispondere a qualche domanda sulla
Certo.
chat, su sempre il calendario accademico. Tanuja, I hope you had the information you wanted, you were looking for. Otherwise, you can write again. We still have 5 minutes for this session, so if you still have questions, you can ask now. Beatrice?
Sì, io volevo chiedere un'altra cosa in merito invece allo sport. Ho sentito che prima accennava per quanto riguarda per il polo, visto che io sono appassionata, per cui ho detto,
Ah, ok, certo.
c'è la possibilità, diciamo, di farlo sempre tramite qualche club della Regent?
Sì, è proprio il sito che ho appena... Ah, perché tu non vedi la chat, vero? Scusa.
No.
Come ho appena detto anche a Marco, cioè se contatti direttamente il team di sports, che anche lì sempre in Google, visto che non riesci a vedere il link, metti Regent Sport, puoi metterti già d'accordo con loro per capire come funziona, se c'è tipo ci sono dei criteri di selezione per entrare nel team o se magari puoi comunque fare allenamento senza dover entrare nel team e tutte quelle cose, però se già lo stai praticando, di solito sei ancora più welcome, penso, soprattutto se sei brava. Però se preferisci, se hai un po' di domande e invece di contattare gente diversa, preferisci mandare tutto in un'email unica a noi, che è studyabroad@regents, quella che vedi qui praticamente. Puoi scriverle a me e poi io ti posso aiutare a metterti in contatto con le altre persone senza che tu debba andare su Google, cercare ogni singolo ufficio, come preferisci, insomma. Però di solito io vorrei aiutarti per molte più cose, però ovviamente non è che sono una specialista in tutte le aree, quindi non vorrei dirti sì, puoi tranquillamente unirti al club polo, però magari poi ci sono delle regole specifiche, capito? Ma di solito gli studenti si uniscono tranquillamente, quindi non penso sia un problema. Magari sì, il requisito è sapere andare a cavallo, ma ripeto, se tu già lo pratichi non dovresti avere problemi.
Va bene, grazie mille, gentilissima.
Niente.
Sarah, I came in late. Are there any student association clubs for activities other than sports?
Yes, Sarah. So we have a clubs and society team as part of the student union. So obviously they change every year. Like there are some that are kind of constant. So, you might have the chess society, the business society, the music society, the kind of women one. But it just really depends on the year and which students are involved with the societies and clubs. And the good thing about it is that if you do want to kind of start your own one, you can also do that. Like we encourage students to do it. For example, we had a student from the US 3 years ago, and they started a cheerleading society, and it was overbooked. Like they could only accommodate up to 20 people, and they had about 50 people signing up, so they had to create 2 groups. So that's just an example of a successful kind of thing that one of the students have done. Usually, though, Sarah, if there is anything in particular that it's kind of a deal breaker in the sense that you would only want to come to Regent if we had this kind of club or society, then it's always best if you email us and we can check with our student union, or you can email them directly. If it's more of a matter of knowing, oh, you know, when I'm there, am I going to be able to do something else rather than just studying? Then you can find out everything during Welcome Week, because during Welcome Week, there's going to be a lot of activities. There are going to be freshers fairs where you'll have all of the stalls from the student unions, and they will tell you what exactly you're going to be able to join. So it's just a matter of when do you need this information and what exactly are you looking for. But yes, there are associations and clubs outside of just sports related. And I'll just put the student union website in there as well, so you can have a look. They also have an Instagram page that might be a bit more visual and up to date as well, because they organize events throughout the semester as well.
Okay, so this thing of student clubs is something that is really something new for Italian students. So this is something that you really should look at while thinking of your experience abroad. Mm-hmm. So we thank Carlotta for her time here and for this session. I hope you had all the information. I will put in the chat also the link to the flyer of the study abroad program, so that you can see all the information on our website too. This session has been registered, so you will receive all the registration from the International Week next week. And so thank you for your time. Thank you, Carlotta.
No, thanks for having me. And again, don't be afraid to ask questions. So if you need anything after this, just email us and we'll be happy to help you. And hopefully we'll see you next year. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Take care. Bye-bye.